This is Fave 5 podcast number 22. And today I have with me as my guest Peggy Najarian. Peggy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Peggy is the first spouse of a former podcast guest to be interviewed, so you have that honor. My second guest was John Bommarito, and John is Peggy's spouse, so I'm glad that she agreed to join me as well. And we'll start out by asking you some questions about your background. When and where were you born?
I was born at Harper Grace Hospital in Detroit in 1969. Um, I am the middle child in my family. Um, and we lived in Detroit till I was 5, and then we moved to Canton, Michigan for a few years, and then in 1975 or 76 we moved to Plymouth. And Yeah, and so John and I still live in Plymouth. We lived in Livonia for a while, and we live about 2.5 miles from my parents now.
And what's your ancestry?
My father is 100% Armenian, so I'm half Armenian, and my mother is half Irish, a quarter French, and a quarter German. But if you ask my dad, she's 100% Irish, and then the rest French and German.
And what generation is your dad?
My dad's mother was born in Maine. Her father came from Armenia, and then my grandfather, my dad's dad, he actually came to the United States from Armenia, escaping the Holocaust, and then the genocide, and then he was sent back. He had a health issue, and then he came back again a second time.
And what brought your father to this area?
My grandfather. My
Grandfather.
grandfather had family in Toledo, and apparently it was easier to get a job and establish yourself if you knew someone, if you had a recognizable name. So my grandfather's last name is was actually Badasbanyan, and he changed it to Najarian, or some of my relatives say Najarian. I just always grew up saying Najarian. So he was a plumber, and he was in, I don't know how long he was in Toledo before he came to Detroit.
And so Najarian was considered a more recognizable name?
Well, because there is an established family in
I see.
Toledo,
I
and
see.
in Nigerian in Armenian is like carpenter, so it's a little bit more
Okay.
common.
I got it. So who was in your family when you were growing up?
There were my parents, and then my older sister Dawn, and then my younger brother Derek, but we called him Rick. And then I had my grandmother lived nearby with my uncle, my dad's younger brother, Ronnie. And then I had some aunts and uncles, and on my mom's side of the family, I had my grandparents, my Uncle Jimmy. My Uncle Jimmy was special needs, and yeah. So I mean, there was a lot of family. I mean, I had lots of cousins. We would have family reunions every year, but the core, like the holidays, were my both sets of my grandparents. My grandfather, the one that came from Armenia, he passed away when I was very young. Um, but it was usually us, my brother, my sister, my parents, and my grandparents and aunt uncles.
What was it like having the two different backgrounds for your two parents?
So when my grandparents came, or great grandparents came, um, at that time it was very much you came to be an American. And so it isn't like it is now. You adopted American culture. I definitely have some people I know that are Armenian that, we didn't go to the Armenian church. We went to a Catholic church because my mom was Catholic. So we never like we would visit the Armenian church. We would go to the bazaars, which to me it was not a culture shock. I mean, I was comfortable with it, but it just wasn't how I wasn't used to being around all of the Armenian people. Um, and but it was very much, I would say, like it just felt like a typical American family.
What did your parents do?
So my grandfather was a banker, and my mom went into banking. I don't know if because he got her a job in high school, or why, but my mom was a banker. So she, trying to think of what her earliest when she was in high school and when she graduated. She was kind of like an accounts person, but when she ended her career and most of her career, she was a teller. And then my father was in the Army, and then he got a job at Michigan Bell. I'm not sure what it was called when he actually joined. It changed names, as did the bank several times. But he was a lineman, and he loved it. We still drive past poles, and he points, I put up that pole, and then we repaired that one. And here's a story where there was a strike, and we had to protect this, unit. And but then he went into management, and he loved working. He never took days. He didn't take very many days off, but he really enjoyed working. So he was a big fan.
When you were in elementary school and middle school and high school, what did you like to do?
We played sports. We were a sports family. So we would play basketball, my brother and I. My sister was older. She was 6 years older than me. So there weren't as many overlaps in terms of activities. But my brother and I were always involved in the same kinds of things. So we would play basketball in the winter, and then soccer in the spring, and then softball, or he played baseball in the summer. Then I would play soccer again in the fall, and then back to baseball or basketball. So it was a constant. And when I was 12, my father decided I needed to learn how to play golf, for which I am eternally grateful. Um, so he took me down to a local driving range, the Arbor Joy Golf Course, which is now, or golf range, which is now a little farm stand. And there was a pro there, and he taught me how to swing. My first couple times I hit the ball, it was, oh, you hit it like a baseball. I'm like, well, I have played baseball most of all of my life. But from there, my dad, he's fine. But my uncle, who's also my godfather, really took me out, and we played a lot of golf together. So,
And you've been playing ever since.
and I've been playing, I've had some breaks, but yes, I love playing golf.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Um, Originally, I wanted to be a singer like Marie Osmond. I still remember I had a Dorothy Hamill haircut, and my brother and I would watch the Osmond show. I don't remember what it was called. I loved that show, but I can't sing, so that was never a realistic option. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a nurse the whole time I went to school until my mom intervened and said, "You know what? If you're going to be a nurse, you might as well be a doctor. You're smart enough to be a doctor." I had even considered nurse anesthetist. She said, "Why don't you just be a doctor?" And then I said, "Okay." Didn't take much prodding, went to school, volunteered at the hospital, hated it. And so I was like, okay, I like kids, and I really like kids, and I really love science. I should be a science teacher. So I kind of transitioned into that.
Where'd you go to college?
Um, I went to Michigan State University for my undergrad, and I was in Lyman Briggs, so I majored in biology. And then when I decided kind of late, a little too late, there were a lot of people then that wanted to be teachers. Not really the case now, but there were a lot of people that wanted to be teachers, and I decided that it was easier for me and more cost effective to graduate with my degree and then go to Eastern because they had a graduate teaching program. So I went to Eastern. I picked up chemistry as a second major, and I got my certification. So Michigan State, then Eastern, and then my third year of teaching, I went back to Michigan State to get my master's.
Did you ever consider going on for a PhD?
I have. I had many times. And it was, I didn't, my thought was, I'm going to have a baby or a PhD. As you know, well, the baby part didn't work out quite the way we had expected, and the PhD, I couldn't decide on what I would actually want to study that much,
Hmm.
and I just kind of let that slide. And I wish I would have pushed myself to do it, but I just didn't.
Would you ever consider doing it later in life?
Um, I mean, I'm not, I think I'm young enough that I could probably still do it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
I wouldn't take it off the table. Let's see how the next year or so
Okay.
goes.
What was your first full-time job?
My first full-time job was teaching where I am retiring from. So
Wow.
North Farmington High School. I've been there the whole time.
How many years has that been?
In June, it will be 32.4306.
And how
So,
long you plan to continue teaching?
um, June.
All right, so it's pretty soon.
It's pretty soon. I'm like 99% sure.
Okay.
I have a few things I still have to iron out, but um, I think I'm ready. I know I'm ready. I've talked to, but the beginning of the year I was not sure. Um, all anyone would ask me because I've been in my building. I student taught there in 93. I was hired in 94. All anyone started asking me is at the beginning of the school year. I can't even walk into the building. So, when are you going to retire? So, when are you going to retire? I'm thinking, do you want me gone? I mean, I know there's a couple of people that have their eyes on the classes that I teach. I do have a nice schedule, but yeah, as of right now, I plan to stop teaching in June. Now, when I get out and I'm done, would I consider picking up and teaching like a part-time position someplace else? Yes, but not yet. Like maybe even a long-term sub.
So if people were asking you that question about when are you going to retire from early on, why were they asking that question?
I have been, I'm the, I have been in the building longer than everybody else. Like absolutely everybody else. Now, some of the teachers there went to school there. I taught some of them. So when they say, "Hey, Mrs. Jerry and Miss Price said that she had you for chemistry," I said, "She absolutely did, and now she has babies. They're in high school." So they're like, so when I tell them, I always tell them, "I'm old. Get over it. I'm old." And they're just like, "You're not old. How old are you, Mrs. Jerry?" And I'm 85. So then, or 67 or 8. Now they're getting close because they're like, "What year did you start? And how long have you been here?" So then they start doing the math, and
Mhm.
then they've recently started like Googling me. They're like, "Hey, we see that you had this and you won this and you did." I said, "Okay, you're too smart." So,
So
but I
take
have been there longer than anybody else.
so tell us a little bit about that career, how it started out, how it evolved, what you've done along the way, and what you're most proud of.
Um, I started off, so I student taught, I was hired where I student taught. I had a really great like supervising teacher. His name is Bob Winters. Um, he had this it actually, I will say that there's this reputation that teachers walk out of the building at, you know, 5 minutes after the kids. It's not the case. I mean, it is the case for some people, no question. But the person I student taught with, he was there early. He stayed late. He was always focused on the kids, and that kind of I learned that. I mean, I learned, you focus on your kids and your primary. There's a lot of things to get involved in, a lot of committees to join. um, you have to decide why you're here. And I was there to teach. So it started with him. And then when I was hired, I was teaching biology and chemistry. And I taught, so I was assigned a double mentor, two mentors, not a double, two mentors, because I was teaching both subjects. So I had Jenny Lambert, and she taught AP Bio, and she taught everything, everything biology. And then there was Bev Schmidt, and she was my chemistry mentor. So these two women were powerhouses. I mean, they had classroom control. They seriously knew their content. They didn't restrict their learning to a textbook. They demanded and got work out of the kids. So I had the two of them actually kind of show me how to, if you want to be effective, this is what happens. Um, Unfortunately, during my first year of teaching, the assistant principal came up to me railroaded me, there's no question, and asked, hey, if there's anything, you want to be a team player, we really could use you. We could, we could really use your help. And I hear, I'm new and I want to be impressive. Sure, what would you like me to do? We need a assistant cheerleading coach. And I looked at him and I said, I have never cheered a day in my life. And he goes, that's okay. There's a head coach and you just have to be there for the kids. We really need you. We could really use the help. And I said yes. And then my two mentors went down and just ripped him apart. How could you do this? She's a science teacher. She's got so much work to do. But so I did that for 2 years. It was terrible. It was terrible. And then when I quit, because I was going to go to grad school. So my third year of teaching is when I started grad school. And when I said I'm not doing this any longer, you're going to have to find somebody else. They would come back and pull me out of class, and that's how much people want to be cheerleading coach. Um, Anyhow, so I taught chem and bio for a long time, and in 90 some, I don't remember the year. It's not 98. Maybe it was 96. So maybe it was 2 or 3 years. AP Environmental Science started. It was piloted by the College Board, and then the next year was offered as an AP class. So my mentor teacher in biology and I team taught AP Environmental together, obviously team taught, because she wanted to teach me how to do pacing. And our kids did our kids did okay the first year. After that, my kids did great. She gave me the class. She said, I don't want to teach two AP classes. It's too much work. And it truly is. Um, and so I was really proud that like this is my first AP class. My kids are all scoring, fours and fives, which are the top two scores. I was very proud of that. And then I got pregnant. So I was teaching regular chem, biology, and this AP class. And then I got pregnant, and my son had some health issues. And I told the kids, stupid me, don't sign up next year because I'm going to have to leave partway through the year because my son's going to need surgery. I killed the class. It never ran again. Like a couple of kids have taken it. So lesson learned. A couple of kids have taken it online, and I've helped them with it. But for the most part, it doesn't run. From there, um, it when my biology mentor retired, I took over AP environment or AP biology, genetics, and anatomy, which is a pretty nice set of classes to have. It's the kids are there because they want to be there. They're very engaged. That doesn't mean that they are perfect children. They are far from perfect children, but that's okay. There's really no such thing. Um, but so from there, I've been since she retired, I've been the AP Bio Genetics Anatomy teacher, and on and off, I teach honors chemistry. And so it's nice having the 10th graders. They are pretty fun. They still put little hearts on their eyes, and
Are there many people that teach bio and chemistry like you do?
I will say that the person that is me at Farmington High, she teaches regular bio and she teaches regular bio and well, honors bio and AP. By regular, I just mean non-AP. Um, she teaches that. She does not have a strong chemistry background, but she has enough chemistry background to and she's phenomenal, to help the kids with all the biochemistry because we had to take biochemistry in college. And my mentor did not have a lot of chemistry. So is it common? I wouldn't say it's uncommon.
Okay.
One of the summer institutes I went to, one of the instructors taught both AP Chem and AP Bio. So it really depends.
And do you have a preference for either one, or are you stronger in either one?
I think I'm stronger in biology, um, mostly because I've had more courses in it. Um, and I haven't taught anything AP level um, in chem. Could I? Yes. I just haven't done it in so long. There's things that like the kids will come up and they'll say, "Hey, Miss Jarian, can you help me with this?" I'm like, "Well, hold on. Let me go back and look at my notes and then let me remind myself of because if you don't, some of the things, if you don't use them in a while,
Mhm.
you may have been great at them as a student. You may have taught it 20 years ago, but if you haven't looked at it in a while, you need to refresh yourself." So.
What was it about teaching that appealed to you that led you to pursue that as your career?
I think it was a combination of I really like kids. Um, I really like biology, and I never. People would say, girls don't do science, and I never had that experience. I had a really amazing chemistry teacher in high school, Mr. Green. Actually, he was also a biochem person, and he actually preferred bio, but he was my chemistry teacher. I loved him. Um, he and I did some of my pre-student teaching with him. And I find teaching to be fun. I want to, and when I leave, I want to leave and have it still be fun, but I'm ready. So the kids are fun. I really like the kids. I think they keep me young and they age me at the same time. Sometimes I look at them, I go, see that? They're new gray hair. That's you. That's you.
What kind of a teacher are you? How did you evolve over the years, and what is your teaching style?
Um, every single one of them will tell you, every single student of mine will tell you that I have high expectations. I can tell you, people will tell you they have high expectations, but you want to really know if somebody has high expectations, ask the kids. Um, I've always had set high expectations for them because when you do the reasonable, there's this concept of support and push, or push and support. So I will push you to be better. I say aim higher a lot in my classroom, but I will also support you to get there. It's not just it's hard and I can't do it. But when I was first teaching, it was very black and white. Um, you struggle with the gray areas. Like I really did. And I still don't understand why you would not do homework, why you would not read the textbook, why you would not go and seek out and just accept. I can't do it and I'm done. Like I have a boy right now in class who decided very early on he can't do it. And just doesn't. Some kids you can help and some kids have decided they can't. But as a teacher, I went from being very strict, very black and white, and I started realizing there is definitely more gray. Um, and kids now, I look at them more as you have to own it. Like before, I thought it was my job to make them learn. Now I realize and at some point I transitioned to it's my job to make this seem interesting enough that you want to know it. And something, and I'm very honest. I'm like, this is not my favorite subject, but let me tell you why you have to know it. Because when you get to this other thing that is super cool, you need this to understand that. And if you don't know this, you're not going to appreciate this next thing. So I think I'm better at getting kids to take ownership of their learning. And it's the thing that I still struggle with is when they decide that they aren't going to do it. It hurts me. It's their choice, but it's a hard one for me to accept.
Over the years, have you had students come back to you, and what kinds of things have you heard from them?
And I'm very proud of this. One thing I hear over and over and over again is your class did a better job than any other class I took at preparing me to do better in post-secondary, in college. This was like AP Bio or anatomy or genetics. Those were classes that truly helped me learn how to be a better student and be successful. And I'm very proud of that. So I have kids that come back. I have a student right now in medical school. He's like, Miss Jarian, it'd mean a lot to me if you would watch my white coat ceremony. And he sends me notes after every semester. He finishes, this is how things are going. And then I had a boy who I didn't even have in class. He came up to me recently and he said, "Do you know any doctors?" I said, "Well, I know my doctors, but not socially." And he said, "Well, I want to interview a doctor." And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I had recently gotten an email from this young man that's in medical school. Well, he's graduating in the spring, in medical school." And I said, "Well, let me reach out and see if he's willing to be interviewed by you." So yes, he like they met and he interviewed him, and the students like, he's really cool and he said you were his favorite teacher, and so I thought, okay, well, this is good. And then I got feedback from the young physician and or soon to be physician, and he said that was a really great interview. I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of fun, and I get notes from kids every now and then telling me that they'll come back and visit. I wish they would stop coming on Friday afternoon. And when they leave, I say, I want to see you come in, drop in, send me an email, whatever. Don't Facebook request me. I won't be your friend on Facebook because it's just a line I don't want to cross. I know lots of teachers do. I don't. But tell me how you're doing because I want to know. And so they do. They do. And I go, tell me what was helpful. And so they do, and I appreciate that.
How was teaching and the school system changed over the years that you've been in it?
Um, when we fir- when I first started, we had a there was a required homework policy. You had to give homework. Um, we taught 5 out of 6 classes, so the kids took 6 classes all year long. Um, there there were options, but not a ton of options. When we switched our schedule to a block schedule, like an alternate, every other day you'd have a class for 90 minutes, but on Mondays you'd have all of your classes. When we switched to that, there were many more options for kids. So I think the number of course offerings exploded, especially in the science department. Um, and and there was a lot more variety. So it wasn't just biochem, earth science, physics. It was astronomy and genetics and anatomy and forensic science. And so there was a lot of other options. Um, and we had this time built into the schedule. It's been called many things, but it's like a homeroom, but not a homeroom. And so kids have time to go in and get help and work on absent work and whatever. And then we switched away from that. We went to something called a trimester, where the kids had how many, 12 weeks? Reset, I don't know. So we would have 3 trimesters of classes. So we would condense everything into a smaller time frame, but you met every day for 70 minutes. It was a horrible schedule for everybody except for AP Bio, AP Chem, AP Physics, BC Calc, because we got to have our kids the whole year. And it really took some of the stress off of those classes. And the reason those classes got to meet the whole year is because they're the only year-long AP classes that are offered um, at our school. But if you were taking honors chemistry, you might have A in the fall and B in the spring, or you might have so it was that wasn't quite as ideal. Or you'd be
Yeah.
teaching an A and a B at the same time during the winter semester. And we're kind of back to a traditional 6 period day. We have that support time built in. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that has changed was COVID and everything being accessible online. So for as long as we've had it, we've had these online platforms that I've posted things and kids have used, and I use it, so the kids use it. But we use Canvas, and I can post so many things, so many resources. It makes it a lot easier if somebody is absent. It also makes it a lot easier to be absent. So I would say that absenteeism across the nation is worse now than it used to be. Um, so on one hand, kids really have ownership in their learning, but the other hand, they pull, and I'm abs 100% not saying that some of these are not true. Sometimes you do need a mental health day. I don't know that you need a mental health day 2 and 3 times a week. I don't think you need to take off first and second hour, come to third hour and fourth hour, and then go back home. So in some ways, we've made it a little too easy for them to be absent.
Hmm.
Um, I try to make it so that they have to be in class every day. I try to give them a reason to come to school, even on a half day. So I think I've
How,
answered your question.
how have the students changed over the years you've taught?
Oh, in some ways, one big way is they're a lot more globally aware. The world is certainly smaller than it was when I first started. Um, but the reality is kids are kids. right? So what they were like before, they continue to have the same kinds of boyfriend problems, and they have the same kind of, um, issues with their parents. And I think social media has not helped them. Having their phones has both helped and harmed them. My friends and I always comment how we are very grateful there were no cell phones when we were in college. Like there's just some things you don't want documented. You want to be able to let stuff go.
Yeah.
I don't know that they always can do that. But I think kids are kids, right? Kids are kids. But they are definitely more socially aware and in some ways more enlightened in issues than they were when I started.
What's a hobby or interest that you have?
Um, Well, we already talked about golf. I love
Yeah.
golfing. I like to cook. I mean, I find it spending the whole day preparing like a holiday meal is not a poor way to spend my time. I am happy. I have a friend who had some recent dietary restrictions, and she said, can I come over and can we just play with some recipes to get me something that I can eat for breakfast? So, we went shopping, we bought a bunch of ingredients that she could eat, and two rounds, 3 rounds of making different things for her so that she could have breakfast. So it was kind of a lot of fun. Um, like kind of it was like experimenting. I'm very fond of saying cooking is chemistry you get to eat. Um, and the whole reason I started really cooking, there's a couple reasons, but one of them is I have some dietary restrictions, and there were things that I wanted to have that just weren't available to me. So getting, I started to get, I would get recipes and I would see how can I alter this recipe to make it so that I can have it. And it kind of exploded from there.
So is there a common theme where scientists are interested in cooking? Have you found that? Because my son is a biochemist and he's a great cook. My
Um,
son-in-law.
Well, okay, so I don't know, but I will say that both chem teachers, my other friend who started about the same, what she's I when I student taught, that was her first year teaching, so she and I had taught together the whole time. Um, Her husband owns a catering business, family catering business. So, but she loves to cook. I love to cook. My mentor, my chemistry mentor, is a phenomenal cook. She would always bring me pie on my birthday because I will pick pie over cake any day. I enjoy making cake, but I like to have pie. Um, Cherry, or she also would make me strawberry rhubarb or lemon meringue, just delicious. Um, and the biology teacher loved to cook. And the other biology teacher loved. There might be something about just science
Yeah,
teachers
yeah, I think
enjoying.
so.
Not all of us do, but a lot of us do.
Yeah.
I don't mind measuring things. I think maybe that's part of it. I don't mind to measure. I measure my coffee every morning because I want it just so. I figured out, just how many beans and just how much water and just how much cream to put in my coffee to make it perfect. So yeah, I don't mind measuring things where I think a lot of non-scientists would find that a little too fiddly. So,
All right, let's move on now to the Fave 5 topics, and
okay.
let's start with books. What do you like to read?
Um, I like to read, so it depends. It depends on my mood. There's definitely some like science-y type things I'll enjoy reading. I have right now I have a student in an independent study. Well, he's doing independent study anatomy. Because he couldn't fit anatomy into his schedule, but he's so curious. And so there's a book, and I don't know how to say I can't think of his name right now, but it's Survival of the Sickest. Okay. And so it's why some of why some medical conditions have been selected for, evolutionarily speaking, even though they aren't exactly the best things to have, like hemochromatosis and diabetes, and so sickle cell anemia. So I gave that to him. I've read it twice. I'm on my third time reading it because we have a little mini two-person book club. I really like Mary Roach. I love her books. I'm a little behind reading them, but I do really enjoy her sciencey kind of books. Um, I had a student give me Atul Gawande, a surgeon's notes on an imperfect science. He gave it to me right before I had knee surgery, which really wasn't great timing. But I enjoyed that. But as far as fiction goes, I'm in two book clubs. I'm in the book club with one of my golf leagues. So my Tuesday night golf league transitions from golf to books
Oh, that's
because,
interesting.
we're all friends. We want to see
Yeah,
each other. So
yeah,
there isn't a lot of book discussion that goes on in that book club.
yeah,
There is
yeah.
some. Um, and so I don't always get to be the one that picks the books. They do tend to pick a lot of ones of like historical, like we read The Women, which I definitely enjoyed. We read was it the Warsaw Project? The Warsaw. There's some imagery of they do pick some that I wouldn't personally pick. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy them. But yeah, there's some things that I might not personally pick. The one that I got off your Fave 5, less or with Arthur Less. I Those were fun. I do like a fun book. I do like mysteries, and I do like which that was not, but I do like a book where I can't predict the ending. I drives John crazy, my husband crazy, because whether we're watching a TV show or usually it's a TV show or a movie, and I'm like, oh well, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, and then this is going, and he just looks and he's like, will you just enjoy the movie? I'm like, I can't,
Yeah.
I have to predict. I don't know if that's the scientist in me, but I'm always trying to predict the end. So I'm very happy when there's a book and I can't predict the end or show.
Do you have a book you can recommend?
Oh. Um, let's see. What have I just read? Um, I just finished The Lost Bookshop. That was good. Okay, so it's fun. This is a fun book. It's Guncle with a G. Like instead of uncle, it's Guncle. It was just a light, funny, heartwarming book, and it's what I needed at the time I read it. So I can't remember who the author is right now. But I did read other books by that same author.
Mhm.
Just they were good books that you need when you need to kind of stop thinking about all the life stuff that's going on.
Hmm.
So,
All right. Now, you've mentioned that you like to cook. I know you also like to eat. What do you like to eat?
um, what do I like? Oh, my favorite food, I don't cook. I like Asian scallops. So like a ginger garlic sauce with scallops and some sticky rice and something green. If that's on the menu, that's what I'm getting. Like you and I and Barb and John have been to Aqua. Aqua has it's not it. They have this scallop appetizer that's ridiculously expensive but delicious. I do like that soy, ginger, garlic flavor, but I
Hmm.
also really like my favorite herb is rosemary. So there's like specific things that if like I make it's a creamy chicken and mushroom soup and it has rosemary in it. And so that's just kind of like my happy, warm, comforting food. I eat a ton of lemon and arugula salad, lemon parmesan arugula salad. It's simple. It takes me absolutely no time to make because I hate making lunch. Actually, I hate making salad. I don't know why. My sister-in-law always asks me to bring salad to family functions, always. But John can also make salad. So, but yeah, I tend to make my own salad dressing just because I know what I want.
You mentioned one restaurant. What are some other restaurants that you like around here?
The restaurant we go to the most is for special occasions is La Bistecca.
Hmm.
It's in Plymouth, and they have Piedmontese beef. And so for my husband's birthday, we went and we all got the same thing. We got the 6 ounce filet. And since I can't have potatoes, I got their risotto. Everything was perfect. The steak was perfect. The green beans are frequently undercooked or overcooked. They're
Hmm.
sad. They're very sad. They were perfect. The mushrooms that we got on the side, perfect. Steak, perfect. It was the best meal we've ever had there. When I had surgery 2 years ago, um, my mother and I share a birthday, and I couldn't go out. I had to stay home, so we ordered carry out from La Bisteca. It's the best carry out I ever had. I called. I said, "This is what we want." They took the order. The owner called. He's called me back. He goes, "Listen, I'm not giving you cut up bread. I'm going to give you a whole loaf of bread. This is what I want you to do when you get it." The salads, everything was phenomenal. Um, I mean, it's just an Italian steakhouse, but they have amazing calamari. The desserts are good. I'm kind of dessert picky, but um, it is. I have meals I like at places. That is one I love. Uh, Contoro's has this calamari salad. It's the only thing I get there. It's phenomenal. It's like a salad and has capers and olives, and you can get fried or grilled calamari, and there's some tomatoes, and it has this creamy anchovy dressing. It's so good. So yeah, I have specific things I like to have
Got
at
it.
different restaurants.
All right. So if we were to go out to eat in the near future, where would you want to go?
Oh, I'm not opposed. So you and I and Barb and John went to Marrow a few years ago.
Yeah.
And your dish was so good. I still think about that pickled shrimp and the corn butter and the combin. That was that was something that really had me thinking differently, like about food. I didn't think I would eat. So every time something's pickled, it's usually onion, which I don't eat.
Hmm.
But that was a thing that I have thought about. So I'm not opposed to going back there, but I do like to try new restaurants. I have a list. I couldn't tell you the name of what all the things that are on there. I have friends that go to restaurants. They're like, you have to go here and you have to go here and you have to go here. So, I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer for that.
What's like a comfort place you like to go? Not fancy, but just a reliable place just for a meal.
Um, Probably if it's just like if it's breakfast, it's probably First Watch. My dad loves First Watch.
Hmm.
And so whenever I have a free day, it's like, Dad, let's go to breakfast. So I do like to go to breakfast at First Watch with him. They have a they have a breakfast quinoa bowl that is pretty yummy.
Which one do you go to?
The Five and Beck one is the best
Okay.
one.
All
I
right.
mean, I've been to four, but that's the best one. It
Okay.
has great service. Like I know which bathroom not to use because the toilet doesn't flush well. I know, I mean, we've been there. My dad and I go there a lot.
All right, moving on to music. Do you have a favorite song or musician or album?
Um, I thought about this. I would say that my f- my favorite, my top two, like in excess after Michael Hutchins died. I listen when we listened to, and John and I went to see, like we watched the various movies they did and documentaries. I don't know that they have a song I don't love. They are hands down probably my favorite band. Um, I really enjoy Soundgarden because I love Chris Cornell's voice. Um, I enjoy Pearl Jam 10. Um, I do tend to prefer male singers with it more of an alt rock
Hmm.
voice.
Hmm.
But I do like Jonathan Brooke and Sarah McLachlan have songs like I have favorite songs from them.
Hmm.
Um, I will admit to being extremely musical lazy because I had 10 CDs when John and I got married. We will not discuss how many there are in our house now.
Yeah.
Um, so I would probably stick with those. I mean, those are old. Those aren't even new ones. I mean, do I like Taylor Swift? Of course I like Taylor Swift. I mean, maybe not, of course. Some people probably don't. But um, yeah, I am not great about I think Matt Mason is his song Cringe. I really like that. Um, the song Dreams by is that Beck? I really like I have songs that I just keep in a tab in my phone that when I decide I need it, I just play it.
Yeah.
But I mean I do have music in my phone
Yeah.
as well.
What's the first record that you bought?
It was a Sean Cassidy album. I don't remember the name. And then I got the second Sean Cassidy album for Christmas, and my cousin Jeffrey, um, he was 3, 5, and he spilled water on it and ruined it. And I never let him forget it. And so I think when we were in our 20s, he bought me the cassette because cassettes were still a thing. He's like, please stop talking about that record I ruined. It was just because it was funny to me. Apparently,
Yeah.
it wasn't so funny to him, so I let it go. But that was my first one. My first concert was Rick Springfield. My second concert was Duran Duran because the Craig sisters, it was at Cobo, and the Craig sisters they had, there were 4 seats, and there was only 3 of them, but they made them buy the 4 seats, so there wasn't a singleton, so I got to go. And then my third concert was Purple Rain. My sister took me. She took me the first one and the third one.
Oh, what was the last concert you attended?
Your brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What, and what'd you think of that?
I liked it. I did. I will say my favorite song was the first one. The first 3, but I really like the first one the
Yeah.
best. When I go and when I listen to things that are instrumental, like when we go to the symphony, when we go to, one of the things I do is I close my eyes so I can kind of envision. I usually envision like people dancing or the ballet, which I do like. We haven't been to the ballet in forever. Or I try to like feel the music. I know that sounds very weird, but um, that is something that I do when it's instrumental, and I that's just one of the ways I can enjoy. Otherwise, I'm just sitting there looking at somebody's head.
All right, moving on to sports. What sports do you like to watch?
Probably the biggest one is Tiger baseball.
Hmm.
Um, we we do tend to go to games. We have vacations where it's not always Tigers, but we'll take vacations where we'll do a little baseball road trip. And I do really enjoy baseball. There's people watching, there's baseball, which I enjoy playing. And then there's the whole like stadium experience. If it isn't that, I do enjoy Spartan football. Although I will admit this year I have not watched a heck of a lot of Spartan football.
Well, it
Um,
was a good year not to
it was
watch.
a good year yeah, I only went to one game instead of like two. Usually I go to at least 2 or 3, but usually it's only 1 or 2. My college friends go and they have tailgates, and but this was a light football year. I just have too many other things that I'm committed
What
to.
about Spartan basketball? Do you ever follow that?
I did when I was in college, and I don't dislike basketball. I played basketball. I played in high school for my freshman year. Um, I just don't watch it. I don't know why. If it was on, I would watch it. I just don't turn it on.
Do you remember who was playing basketball at Michigan State when you were there? Remember any of the players?
Well, I can envision one of them because he was friends with one of my sorority sisters. I do know that my senior year, we played UNLV in the finals, and we were in Florida. We all had gone down, my sorority sisters, a big group of my sorority sisters, we all went down to Florida, and UNLV was playing Michigan State, and we lost. But we were all watching that game. We were all watching that game.
Got it. Do you have a favorite athlete or a favorite team?
When I was a kid, I don't know why, my favorite athlete was Earl Campbell on the Oilers, number 34. Now,
Hmm.
did he become my favorite athlete because my uncle gave me an Oilers jersey for Christmas, or did I already have him as my favorite player and then he gave me the jersey? I don't know. Um, I On the Tigers, I loved Curtis Granderson. I love that they called him Curtis Granderslam. I loved watching him play.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons he was my favorite was because at the time he was only one of 26 Major League Baseball players to actually finish school and get his degree. That was
Wow.
really a big thing for me. I was
Yeah.
like, good for him. And he was so community focused. And then Torrey Hunter came in. Torrey's parents were physicists or teachers. And he just was like, had this great smile and he had such good energy. And I really enjoyed watching him play. And then he left. And then I was mad. And I was like, I'm not picking any more Tigers because they keep getting rid of them. It's like if there's somebody that I like and I pick them, then they just go away. So I refuse to pick another Tiger to be my favorite because they
Oh,
just leave.
do you like anyone on the current team though, even if it's not your favorite?
Oh, I do. Um, let me think. Carrie Carpenter. I enjoy watching Carrie
Yeah,
Carpenter play.
yeah.
Um, and I don't think Jose was not on the team this year. Iglesias. He was traded last year, 2 years ago.
No,
Um,
it's been a while since he was on the
it's been a
team.
while.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, don't ask me to name them. If you gave
Okay.
me the list, I can say, oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
got
plays
it.
shortstop and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
plays, yeah.
How about a favorite sports memory?
Um, let's see. Of somebody else playing or me playing?
Whatever
Well,
you
I got
like.
a hole in one 2 years ago. That was a pretty cool memory.
That's good.
That was a great memory. Um, I don't I think it's more of a collection. When I was able to come back and play soccer after not playing soccer for a long time,
Mhm.
and there was a group of just I spent my whole life playing on a team. Like there really weren't, I mean, other than occasionally playing golf, there was never, I was never on, I was always on a team sport.
Hmm.
Um, and when I started playing soccer again with my last team, I realized how much I missed being on a team. So maybe not a moment, but I really truly enjoyed playing with them. On that team was my brother, one of our roommates when we were at Eastern, like a high school, like a high school friend who was a college friend, who's a post-college friend. Um, One of my other friends played on the team. There was another brother, sister who were both married. They were on the team. There was some of my former students were on the team. Kind of odd
Yeah,
we would go to the bar afterwards and they're
yeah,
21 and here I am pouring beers for former students. It was very strange. But
yeah.
I mean, they were legal. They were legal.
Mhm.
But I really loved being on a team and I was really heartbroken when I had to stop playing. Um, I promised John, I go, no more knee surgeries, no more concussions. He does not like getting phone calls that say, please come home from whatever show you're at. You need to take me to get my head examined. And then I get seriously? I'm like, well, I said it like that on purpose, but yes, yes, I need you to take me to the emergency room. So,
Our final topic is humor. What a favorite comedian or film or TV show?
let's see, humor. I thought about this. I don't have a great answer for this one. I guess Jeff Dunham. I really, John and I have gone to see Jeff Dunham. He is hysterical, and I don't love all of his characters. There are some that I wish I would definitely get up and go to the bathroom for if we were at a performance. But he's fun and it's clean. I don't need vulgarity to.
Yeah.
My one friend and I went to go see. Oh, and Sarah Milken. She's vulgar, but she's hysterical. And what I love about her is that she is very like, you need to be your own person. You need to make sure you're happy, and you don't need to conform to what other people say you should be like. And I really enjoy that, despite the fact that she is a bit on the crude side. So, yeah.
All right. Last question. Who's the best at making you laugh and who are you able to crack up?
I would probably say my sorority sisters when we're on girls' weekend. There's a lot of laughing.
Hmm.
We just have a very good time together. There's a reason we're still friends, even though we graduated so many years ago. And I would say both ways. I think I make them laugh, and I think they make me laugh.
All right. And it's time for a story. What have you chosen to share with us?
I guess it's um, just a story about my mentor teacher, Bev. Uh, she probably has had one of the biggest impacts, not the only person, but she's had like a huge impact on me. Um, throughout my teaching career, she would let me screw up, and I did because we all do, right? We're not perfect. And she she really had a way of kind of leading by example. This isn't a great story, but it's just a she remained my friend like friend and mentor her whole life, like from the time I met her until she just passed away. Um until the end. Um she's one of the ones that kind of would talk about, you need to work on a marriage. You don't just have a marriage, you need to work on a marriage. She loved to cook, and she would talk about, cooking and making different foods, but she also would talk about letting people be the person that they are. A lot of times she would look at me, she goes, "Poor John, how does he handle you being like this at home?" Um, I have ADD, and sometimes I know it gets a little, it gets a lot for me. So, but she just kind of would lead by example and would make comments that she knew I would think about later. So, I would guess this is more just talking about my mentor.
Hmm.
Um, but when you have somebody in your life that is going to teach you to push yourself to always get better. Like my other mentor, Ginny, did the same thing. She never stopped going to conferences, never stopped making sure that she was improving. I'm grateful that the two of them taught me that. So like I just remember there were times when um, I would watch Bev in class, and she taught me how to form authentic relationships with students, appropriate authentic relationships with students, and accepting them for who you are and understanding that you're not going to change them, but you can maybe inspire them. So, she taught me how to be better to my parents. She would have Annie Ev, her husband's nun, I just knew her as Annie Ev, but hit her husband's aunt over for dinner every week. She was elderly. She would come over. She would make a dinner. She'd make sure she had leftovers to take home. And so I've kind of taken that. And so I try to have, my parents are getting older. They're 85 and 88. And I know my dad's overwhelmed at home. And it's one of the reasons I'm going to retire this year so I can help them more. But I've kind of tried to take some of the lessons that she's taught me to, I have them over. I send them home with leftovers. She told, she would tell us she really took care of people. And so it was kind of inspired me to make sure that I am looking out for others and making sure they're getting taken care of as well. Um, Her story, her daughter used to sneak out of the house to go off and do whatever. And I remember one of her stories was one night she sat on they had a bike shed in the backyard, and they sat on the bike shed and waited for her to climb out the window. And so she's like, and then Susie's leg went right over the window. And we sat there and we were like, Susie, where are you going? And she looked up and she climbed right back into the thing. How like one time the poor kid, she slammed Susie's in her 40s now and is a mature, responsible, wonderful young lady, slammed her door, and Tom went and took the door off. It's appropriate for you to be angry. It's not appropriate for you to slam the door. But there's something that they also taught me was they would give their son Peter, they'd say, here are the directions, figure it out. And he would. He learned how to just do stuff. So when my nieces and nephews would come over and they would say, well, I want to learn how to do X. And I said, okay, well, here's the basics. You do it. And I would have them kind of work through and figure out certain things. So if they wanted to learn, I was happy to teach them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to wrap up to talk a little bit about some of the things that we have in common. You mentioned that you like food, which we share in common.
yeah.
We have also have played a lot of euchre together and
Oh yeah. Yes, that's a family thing that we love. We love you. We love games in our
games.
family.
We've played other games with you. You've had us over at your house to play games, And we share a love of the Spartans is another one. Um, One of the things that I find interesting, and I'm interested to hear your view on it, is the contrast between what you really like the best and what John, your husband, likes the best. Doesn't always overlap, right? So John's
Correct.
intensely interested in music, attends many, many concerts. You don't go to most of those concerts with him. You have a great love of food and trying different foods, and John's very, very particular and narrow-minded, I think, about food. How do you explain all of that, and how do you deal with that?
So the concert thing, um, yeah, he certainly loves to go see shows. And I used to go to all of them with him, but it was untenable. I couldn't get up to teach in the morning if I went to a show that night. And while I don't sit down during the day, I um I can't stand still at a show for 2 or 3 hours and not sit down. If I can move around constantly, it would be fine, but that's not frequently the option. So I started putting parameters. I will go to shows if, it's not on a school night and I can sit down. So that eliminated a bunch. And he goes during the week. So, and I mean, the reality is teachers have work nights and weekends. So I always have something to do to keep me busy. Um, so that takes care of many shows. There are some artists that he enjoys that I just can't handle their voice. Just like I've sat there the whole time and in my head, I'm just sitting quietly, and in my head, it's like, oh my gosh, please shut up. Please stop talking. Please don't sing anymore. Just stop. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So we've learned I'm more selective on which shows I will go to. I think going to one or two shows a month is more than most people go to. It's got to be something that I'm willing to, and I can tolerate. And I know that sounds terrible, but there's so many things. And we don't have the same favorites, which is what we did this year is we bought tickets to the symphony because I really enjoy going to the symphony. I don't feel trapped at a symphony. I can close my eyes, I can listen, I can feel the music, makes me happy. So that's one thing. We're very selective on what shows that I go to, and I'm like, oh, Kimmy C wants to go to this show. You two will have an amazing time. Please take Kimmy C. So or you go to shows with him. Appreciate that. So I'm fine. I'm fine
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
The food thing, John doesn't remember the things he doesn't like either, and I have a very good memory for what he orders at restaurants that he likes and which ones he doesn't like. So when we pick out a restaurant, one of the things I do is I quickly scan the menu to make sure there's something there for him to eat. And he has gotten better. Like he eats fish now. He never used to eat fish. We would go to Real Seafood, which in my personal opinion has the best crab cakes. In Michigan. I mean, not like, we're not in Maryland, but
Right.
they have really delicious crab cakes. Don't go on Saturday. Don't go when they're busy. Their food is never as good as when it's busy, but he would always get chicken Alfredo every single time. Well, now he gets fish because he
Okay.
likes fish.
Yeah.
So I try to scope, but if there's like he doesn't like the smell of Mexican food. Hates it. So I get Mexican food without him. I won we had a chili cook-off at school, and since right now I can't eat really anything in chili, um, because of a medication I'm taking, I made dessert. I said, well, I'll make a dessert. So the science department really likes my carrot cake, so I made carrot cake. And so I won for best side dish. I didn't know cake was a side dish, but we'll go with it. So I won a gift card to Chipotle. So I will go to Chipotle on a day when John is not home and get some carry out. So I usually and if it's Middle Eastern, like La Marsa or somewhere, I will get that with my parents on a night when John is at a show. So I don't know why he doesn't like that. It's chicken and vegetables and rice. He loves all of those things, but I can't explain it.
So you've made it work out. These.
Yes, I find ways. I hate to say that you're managing your spouse because it's really not fair, but you find ways to make a compromise. He doesn't push me to go to shows where he knows I will be miserable because then that makes him miserable. And
Yeah.
I don't push him to do things that he doesn't like. And that's okay.
Well, it's worked out well, and so hopefully it keeps going that way. And then, by
Yes.
the way, anytime you want to go and have something more interesting than John would like to eat, I'll be glad to go with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Peggy, thanks a lot for joining me today on the podcast. I enjoyed talking with you and appreciate everything that you shared.
I thank you for having me, and you are always wonderful. I feel like this is not the first time you've interviewed me because even when we're having a discussion, you're very good at asking questions.
Thanks.